was Western Europe, but now a city without a single knife killing in more than a year. Our crime correspondent Martin Brunt went to visit and has this special report.
Turn it up, please. Turn it up, please.
Part of the officer's job is to disrupt the borough's gangs.
Have you got any bail conditions?
Where there are gangs, there are knives.
Have you got anything on you now that you shouldn't have?
These two teenagers are robbery suspects. The stop and search found no knives this time.
We've had various stabbings. All of these victims are teenagers. Some still go to school. A lot of our normal robbery suspects are 12, 13 years old. They're carrying knives and they've got no regard with what they're doing, and they have got no regard. They have no respect for them. We're dealing with them either, so they don't care if police are going to arrest them or chase them.
London has just had its worst year for almost a decade for fatal stabbings. There were 80. To try to reverse the trend, there will be more stop and search. A controversial tactic which in the past has alienated black communities who felt they were unfairly targeted.
Yeah.
It is a fine balance that has to be drawn. Stop and search absolutely works as a policing tactic.
Martin Hewitt.
It has no effect on knife crime. As a professional police officer, my position would be that stop and search is an absolutely crucial tactic in dealing particularly with something like knife crime.
But how do you convince politicians that it's the right thing to do?
Well, I think we convince politicians by effectively using stop and search and getting the results that we need from stop and search and managing some of those community tensions that you described.
An increase in stop and search has forced some knife users to hide their weapons somewhere they can retrieve in a hurry. The police make regular weapon sweeps. In Peckham, another part of South London, on a troubled estate, officers found 2 knives within half an hour.
They're just left around in these areas to be used as weapons and picked up by gangs and other violent individuals. So when we stop and search them on the streets, they won't have them on them. They'll be ready to hand if they come into conflict in this area. They'll be able to pick them up easily and use them.
Police realised long ago that enforcement alone would not solve knife crime.
Really where we need to get to, I think both police and everybody collectively, is reducing the number of young people that think it is either desirable or acceptable to carry a knife because of all the consequences. And as you say, we have schools officers who are in pretty much every school in London and giving talks to the children at all levels through the school in terms of making responsible decisions about a whole range of things, but particularly around knives.
While London struggles against rising knife crime, in Glasgow it's a different story. 12 years ago, a United Nations report branded Glasgow the most violent city in the developed world.
We had a homicide rate involving knives that was 3.5 times higher than anywhere else in Europe. Anywhere else, 3.5 times the number of knives of homicides anywhere else in Europe. We didn't know why, and I still don't know why, but we knew enough to look. Let's take the knives out of this. And we did have stop search, because stop search is important. But it's only important in the context of a whole range of other things.
To stem the wave of Glasgow knife attacks, John Carnacan set up the Violence Reduction Unit. His groundbreaking approach was to bring in other agencies. The scheme was later rolled out across Scotland.
We got all the guys who were in gangs, we brought them together, about 80 or 90 at a time, and we said, we've had enough of this. The community's had enough of this. You've had enough of this. It needs to stop. And when you stop, we'll help you do other stuff. And the gang stuff was a huge success. Because we had social work involved, we had education, we had health, we had the courts, we had communities, we had youth groups.
At this Glasgow workshop, prison leavers are taught new skills. They are paid and given help to find jobs. It's just part of the multi-agency initiative that has proved so successful. 12 years on, the model is now funded by the Scottish Government, and it's still working. The annual murder rate in Scotland has more than halved, from 137 to 61.
I think we're seeing a better understanding of the background to violent crime. We know that at its heart, violence comes from inequality. It comes from deprivation. It comes from poor housing and education. It comes from adverse childhood experiences. It comes from young men who've suffered often physical, emotional, sexual or violent abuse of some sort in their younger years. It comes from a whole host of different causes, and we know that the police alone cannot solve that issue. It has to be solved by society as a whole, by politicians, by local, by community themselves.
On the internet, there are many vivid reminders to police in London of the challenge they face. The crews of the Croydon robbery cars have experienced similar extreme violence.
It's a drug deal gone wrong, and someone's brought a knife to the deal, and they've ended up being stabbed with it. After stabbing someone, there's a massive fight, and it's all quite a bit nasty and quite a lot of blood.
In East London, I was taken to meet a gang member who went to prison for stabbing someone. He said his name was Dylan, and he wore an animal mask to hide his face.
What did it feel like to stab someone?
When I stabbed someone, it didn't feel nice, but I had to, as I said to you, I had to do what I've got to do. But I said, like, I need the money at the time. I see this guy, he walked past me in a nice Rolex, so I had to stab him.
What?
To get that. He was trying to fight back, so I had to stab him. I stabbed him 6 times.
Just to get his Rolex?
You nearly killed him.
Nearly, but he's still alive now. He's still alive. I don't know.
Dylan said he knew where to get a knife if he needed one, but he was trying to turn his life around.
Will you ever use a knife again?
No. As I said, I'm trying to change my life. I want something to help me. I've met a nice girlfriend now, so I'm just trying to change my life. Yeah, that's all.
But lots of other people are still using knives. What would you say to them?
What would I say to them? I say to them, put down a knife, stay in school, stay in college, and get off this road life. That's what I would say. Yeah. That's what I would say. I've been there, done that, it's not good.
Dylan is being guided towards a new life by Gangsline, a small group of ex-gang members who advise police and local authorities on understanding the culture they're dealing with.
I train them on understanding the lifestyle, understanding what a gang member thinks like. So before you go and arrest somebody, or before you look at somebody in a certain way, you need to understand where he came from and what was the root causes to some of the issues that he was faced with. And when you understand a gang member, you have communication. When you have communication, you can now actually speak with that person and say, hey, well, I know I can do this to actually help you.
Everyone we met had a view on what could help to bring down knife crime in London. London's police have studied what their colleagues have done in Glasgow and are adopting much of it. Will that work?
If you look at the model that they've adopted in Glasgow, in Scotland, that essentially is really, because I don't think in there is any particular one aspect that you could pull out and think, if we do this, it will all change. What there is a very coordinated effort to bring everyone's ability to bear on a problem that was a very serious problem. The police clearly have a very big role to play in that, but so do a load of other people.
It's not easy to
January
compare
23rd,
Glasgow.
2018.
Cities are very different in size, ethnic mix, culture and political makeup, but they faced the same high levels of knife crime, and perhaps one can learn from the other. Martin Brunt, Sky News.
As I said, this is 23rd of January 2018. Solutions need to come and need to come thick and fast, man.
Of hundreds of thousands of Rohingya
I need to get busy.
refugees who left the country